All right, so you're here because, like us, you're kind of obsessed with what the future holds for gaming on the go.
Yeah, especially after that little handheld PC that kind of shook things up.
You're talking about the Steam Deck, of course.
That's right.
So we've been digging into all the speculation about a potential Steam Deck 2.
A lot of buzz out there.
And we're dying to know what's next.
Absolutely.
So we've been poring over articles, forums, YouTube videos, just to get a sense of, where things might be headed.
A lot of interesting threads to pull on.
Yeah, we've got stuff from PC Gamer, Forbes, even Hacker News.
Reddit's always a gold mine for this kind of speculation.
Oh, totally. Linux gaming, R games, those are always buzzing.
Steam Deck, obviously, and even Argali.
Plus, we've dug into some transcripts from Linus Tech Tips and A1RM4X.
Good stuff.
So we're ready to share what we found.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Dive deep.
Okay, so first things first. The original Steam Deck, even Valve themselves, said the future of their hardware is looking pretty bright because of it.
Yeah, it wasn't just a hit. It kind of redefined what a handheld gaming PC could be.
Totally. It wasn't just about playing PC games on the go. It was like a whole curated experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They really nailed that appliance-like feel. Just pick it up and play.
Which is huge for a lot of gamers who don't want to mess around with all the PC stuff.
For sure. And you know what else is interesting? The Steam Deck has really given Linux gaming a boost.
It's like it opened the floodgates.
And it makes sense. Think about it. You've got this console-like ease of use on the Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just works.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people have struggled with when trying to game on Windows handhelds.
Definitely take something as basic as saving your settings for each game.
Oh, tell me about it.
On Windows, it's not always that straightforward.
You end up jumping through hoops sometimes.
And then there's that built-in Hertz limitation adjustment with GameScope.
So smart.
It's like magic. Even if a game isn't running at a super high frame rate, it still feels smooth.
Oh, right, because it syncs the refresh rate to what the game is actually putting out.
Exactly. No more screen tearing or stuttering.
It just feels so much better to play.
And another thing that console players are used to that we finally get with the Steam Deck, suspend and resume.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's a game changer for handheld PCs.
You could just pause your game, put the deck to sleep, and pick up right where you left off.
It's like magic.
No more waiting for everything to boot up or shut down.
It's the little things.
And let's not forget the versatility. You can dock it, plug in a keyboard and mouse.
And boom, it's a desktop PC.
You're not getting that with most dedicated handhelds.
Nope, not at all. And it's having a ripple effect, too, because developers are really starting to pay attention to Steam Deck compatibility.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more games getting that Steam Deck verified checkmark.
Which is so important because it means the game's been tested on SteamOS.
And it should just work without any fiddling.
Exactly. And it's not just about the games themselves. Valve is putting resources into open source projects that benefit the whole Linux gaming ecosystem.
They're really investing in the platform.
Which is awesome.
So the original Steam Deck set a pretty high bar. What's interesting now is that SteamOS might be coming to other devices.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Lenovo's Legion Go S is going to be the first third-party handheld that's officially shipping with SteamOS.
Straight out of the box.
Which shows that Valve is serious about expanding the reach of their operating system.
It's a smart move because there's been a lot of demand for a way to just install SteamOS on other hardware.
People want that Steam Deck experience on their own devices.
And Valve's listening. They've announced they're going to release a public beta of SteamOS for other handhelds.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a major step toward making SteamOS more widely available.
So they're aiming to bring that same smooth gaming experience to devices like the Legion Go S.
That same curated feel.
Exactly, and it's not just about the OS itself. Things like GeForce NWO are getting full Steam Deck support with a native app.
Which is awesome.
And that could potentially benefit all SteamOS installations.
So we could actually see more people gaming on Linux overall.
It's definitely a possibility. The more devices are running SteamOS, the more exposure people have to Linux.
Even if they're not thinking about the technical stuff.
And if we look way down the line, Valve might even be thinking of SteamOS as a real alternative to Windows for gaming PCs.
It's a bold vision.
But they're laying the groundwork.
All right, so we've talked about the present and the near future. Now let's get to the juicy stuff.
The speculation.
Steam Deck 2! What are we hearing?
Well, Valve's CEO hinted that if there is a Steam Deck 2, it would probably be a more premium device.
So more expensive than the original.
Yeah, they're thinking higher-end experience.
Makes sense, especially with the competition heating up.
Oh yeah, you've got devices like the Lenovo Legion Go coming out with a bigger screen, higher resolution detachable controllers.
And it runs Windows 11.
So it's a different beast.
But here's the thing, Valve doesn't necessarily see those as direct competitors.
It's like they're playing in a different league.
Yeah, the Legion Go might have different features, but the battery life and the overall software experience for gaming might not be as good as SteamOS.
That's where Valve really shines that integrated console-like feel.
He's hard to beat.
We even saw someone on Reddit wishing for a Steam controller, too.
Along with new Fremont devices and the official PC release of SteamOS 3.0.
The community's thinking big picture.
Absolutely. And when it comes to performance in a Steam Deck 2,
Everyone wants more power, of course.
but Valve has said that big jumps in performance are still years away.
Years.
Yeah, so maybe a near-future Steam Deck 2 would focus on refining other things.
Instead of chasing the absolute latest specs.
Right, maybe a better screen, improved battery life.
And more improvements to the SteamOS experience.
There were even discussions about whether a potential Steam Deck 2 would have similar power to the ROG Alo 2.
Or if they'd only close that gap a little bit.
It's all about finding the right balance between power and optimization.
And that signature Steam Deck user experience.
So maybe we shouldn't expect a supercharged Steam Deck 2 right away.
More like incremental upgrades for now.
Which is still exciting.
Oh, definitely.
Now let's talk about some of the challenges, because it's not all sunshine and roses in the Linux gaming world.
True, there are some hurdles.
Anti-cheat software, for one, it's a real pain point.
Especially for popular multiplayer games that use kernel-level anti-cheat.
Those are tough to get working on Linux.
Because they're so deeply integrated with Windows.
And then there are graphics drivers. I know there's been some back and forth, especially with NVIDIA.
Historically, yeah, but things are getting better. NVIDIA released open source drivers.
Which is huge.
It's still a work in progress, but it's a positive step.
And Valve is actively involved in driver development too. They're really trying to optimize for SteamOS.
They even had that fix for Elden Ring on Linux that made it run smoother than on Windows for a while.
See, the potential is there, but let's be real, Windows still has a much bigger game library.
That's the reality. Windows has a larger market share, so more developers focus on it.
And even with Proton doing amazing things, there are still some games that don't work perfectly on Linux.
It's a compatibility gap that's slowly closing, but it's still there.
And if SteamOS wants to be more than just a handheld OS,
It needs to work on desktops, too.
what are the challenges there?
One big one is getting support from the developers of professional applications.
Like for work or creative tasks, a lot of those don't have Linux versions.
And using compatibility layers isn't always ideal.
So even though SteamOS is great for that console-like gaming experience,
There's still work to be done to make it seamless across all games and different game stores.
like Epic and GOG,
Tools like Heroic Launcher help, but it's not a perfect solution.
and then there's that dream of the year of the Linux desktop.
Yes. It's become a meme at this point.
But the desire for a truly viable open-source desktop OS is still there.
Especially with the Steam Deck success and Windows 10 nearing its end of life.
Okay, so looking ahead to 2025, what's on the wish list for Linux gamers?
Better anti-cheat support is always at the top.
Makes sense.
More stable AMD drivers would be great too.
An improved VRR.
Variable refresh rate for smoother visuals.
And wider adoption of technologies like Steam Link VR and AMD's FSR3.
Even small things like recent Steam client updates with Linux-specific fixes are appreciated.
It shows they're paying attention.
And of course, Proton keeps evolving, which is crucial for getting more Windows games running smoothly on Linux.
And the public SteamOS beta is coming soon.
That's a big deal. It shows that Valve is committed to Linux gaming.
It's exciting.
And, the Linux community itself is a big part of this too.
They're always coming up with innovative solutions.
That spirit of collaboration and problem solving is what drives Linux gaming forward.
So to wrap things up, it's clear that the Steam Deck has been a turning point not just as a device, but as a catalyst for the growth of SteamOS.
It's a game changer.
And while a super-powered Steam Deck 2 might be a few years off,
We can dream.
the groundwork is being laid for a broader SteamOS ecosystem with partner devices and that public beta.
It's an exciting time.
Yeah. There are still challenges, but we're seeing real progress.
Absolutely.
And for gamers who value stability and a console-like experience,
Now, whose game library works with SteamOS?
it's becoming a more and more appealing option.
Definitely.
So here's a final thought for you. With SteamOS expanding and the handheld market getting more crowded, what will truly define the next generation of portable gaming?
It's a good question.
How will Valve stay ahead of the curve?
They've set a high bar.
It seems like the key is finding that sweet spot between powerful hardware, seamless software, and an amazing user experience.
That's a tough balance.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of handheld gaming.
It's been a blast.
We'll see you next time.
Catch you later.